No, I don't.
All right, well, let's skip it.
But
I don't want to hold up the show.
It's still, I think it's still recording.
Yeah, I'm just trying to record to my machine,
Yeah.
my bit, but I'll sort it out on there. Don't worry about it. Okay, from Louisiana. All right, well, back in 2018, some of you who know me know that I became obsessed about collecting stories about the Rougarou in Louisiana. Oh, I was told that I should show you how that's spelled, by the way. This is the name of the story, the Rougarou of Bayou Sale Road. In case you don't know what I'm talking about when I say this word, Rougarou. The Rougarou is a half man, half wolf monster. He's kind of a wolf man. The reason for my fascination with these stories is that I have this really distant memory from my childhood when I was real young, maybe 5 or 6 years old. I remember we took a long trip to a family farm in the south of Louisiana. Our grandma was getting old, and our father said he wanted to take us just so we could spend some time getting to know her. Her farm was down on Bayou Sale Road, and this is south of Houma, which is about an hour and a half southwest of Louisiana, or New Orleans. And apparently Grandpa Elmer had built the house with his own bare hands. And it had a nice tin roof and a big porch. And Grandpa Elmer had been a real strong man and a hard worker. But Grandpa Elmer had died in a hunting accident before we were born, so we didn't get to meet him. And I went with my twin sister and I. We spent our days roaming around the countryside. There was a pond to swim in, and we liked playing with the chickens. And this farm was surrounded by swampy forests. And Grandma had some very specific rules. One, don't leave food outside. And number 2, don't go into the woods. She never explained why they were important, only they were important. Well, one day my sister accidentally left a bologna sandwich outside. And that night, the family were all sitting inside the fireplace, and then we hear this scratching out on the back door. What's that, Grandma? My father says, oh, that's probably just a raccoon. Grandma says, I'll check. She went out, came back. She said, someone left a sandwich outside. Girls, you got to remember the rules. The next morning, there was long black fur on the back steps. You know, and after this food incident, I started to become aware that there might be more things that my grandmother wasn't telling us. I wasn't sure what it was. I was just a kid, but it just seemed like something was fishy. Well, another day, it was really, really hot, and I decided to go walk down the creek because I could put my toes in the creek, and I would like to go look for tadpoles, and I just kind of got into it, and I walked and just lost myself. But suddenly, the birds stopped chirping and singing. It was still, and I realized I'd gone too far. I'd gone into the forest. So I turned quickly, and I'm going to run back to the farmhouse, but I heard a branch crack. And then I saw it. In the distance, there was this tall, lurking beast. He was 8 feet tall. He looked like a man, except he had ears like a dog, and his eyes were bright yellow and sort of glowing. And I was terrified, and I ran back to the farmhouse and found Grandma, and I ran into her arms. I said, Grandma, Grandma, there was a monster, a beast, a man. Were you in the woods? She asked. She said, what you saw was the Rougarou, part man, part wolf. I guess it's time I tell you the story, the whole story. Your grandfather, Elmer, went hunting for a bear that was killing a bunch of animals around here, and he tracked it to a den. Only it wasn't a bear. It was a man with long, dark hair covering his body, and his head looked like a wolf. The creature attacked them, and they fought. Elmer survived, but he was injured, and he went home. He came home, and he was sick all night. And in the morning, he was covered in long hair. He looked at himself, and then he ran off. The thing that you saw in the forest today, that was your grandfather. He left because he didn't want to hurt us, and I leave food out at night. I think your father is still inside that beast. I hope somehow he can come back to us from whatever it is that he's become. Now, my memory of that time, so long ago when I was a child, it really seems like a dream, a bad dream. Recently, I went back to Houma, Louisiana in 2019, and I went to the Rougarou Festival, sort of seeking some enlightenment there. But it was 200 degrees out. It was just crazy hot. So I sat down on a bench in the shade with this older couple, and we got to talking, and I told them why I was there. The woman says, you know, Bayou Sale Road is the most haunted road in Louisiana. People report seeing a ghostly hitchhiker, but you can't pick him up because he disappears. And voices are heard coming from the Choctaw burial grounds. And you hear screams from the old slave cabins. They tell you to walk, to drive very slowly on Bayou Sale Road, because sometimes an 8-foot tall man covered in fur jumps out in the woods to cross the road. Thank you.